What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Mixed Martial Arts. My name is Austin Shaper, and this is a daily show where we cover the topics of UAP, UFC, and World War III. Today is going to be a UAP episode, and it's going to be about one single topic that I have been hearing so much about almost whenever I post a video regarding UFOs and the phenomenon as a whole. I get the same comments 1,000 times over, especially on TikTok, about Project Bluebeam. So much to the point where I want to address it because off the bat, I will say this. Project Bluebeam is possible. It is possible that that is the reality of the phenomenon. I have always been of the opinion that it is the least likely possibility of maybe all of the different possibilities that could exist that represent what the phenomenon is at its truth, at its core. If you guys don't know what Project Bluebeam is, we're going to dive into that real quick. I'm going to read you a very, very brief summary, and then I'll kind of dive into my interpretation of it, and we'll go from there. Sound good? If you guys appreciate this type of content, do me a favor and just subscribe to the channel. That would mean a lot. It's 100% free to do. Thank you so much. Diving in. This comes from an article that I pulled off of Google, and it says that Project Bluebeam was a joint project of NASA and the United Nations. I don't know if that's 100% true. I've heard that this was a document that was released originally by the CIA. It was a theoretical framework, but I guess it doesn't really matter. It says it's the idea of using the most powerful technologies to spread a new religion on Earth and create various simulations to establish total control over humans, after which the New World Order would be finally established. So, in other words, what the theory behind Project Bluebeam, and there is some truth, I think, to this document that was originally released. I do not remember the year. It was a while back, and I think it was like a theoretical framework. It wasn't meant to be actually implemented. I don't think. I don't know. You guys can argue amongst yourselves about that one, if this was a legitimate document or what. I mean, some people have said it was just based off of a episode of Star Trek, so I don't know the answer to that, nor do I really care to dive into it, because I just don't really find it as one of the most plausible scenarios. I do my best to keep an open mind because I don't know what the truth of this phenomenon is. I do not know. And I always say, at least I do my best to always reiterate the fact that I'm not an authority on this issue. I'm not some voice that has some high ground to stand on. I'm just like you. I'm just somebody who's exploring this. I love talking about it because to me, it's one of, if not the most profoundly fascinating subject that you could discuss. Is there other life out there? Is that life here? Has that life been interacting with us? If it is here, these are fascinating questions to me, and that's really where my interest stems. It's not from me sitting here saying, I know what it is, or I'm here to preach to you guys and kind of educate you. It's not really that. And to my understanding, and I've watched a lot of videos on this over the years about Project Bluebeam. Essentially, it is under the same guise as the New World Order, and the plan as a whole was based around the idea of using sophisticated hologram technology to project the appearance of an alien invasion or ships, spacecraft, all over the world in some major event, I think that would simultaneously happen all over the globe. And the purpose of this from the government would be to essentially eradicate the current religions that are kind of dividing the world and to unite the world against this alien threat / some people take that as forming a new religion. People are going to be so profoundly mesmerized by this hologram projection of this alien invasion or massive, of a craft in the sky, some big D-Day type event where it shocks the planet and the global paradigm shifts and people feel that we need a new religion. Maybe they look at this invasion, I guess you could say, they look at this invasion as a new religion, that these beings are here and they're to be looked at as God, and it's meant to eradicate the current religions, unite the population into a one world order to either A, protect us from this threat, or B, we are meant to look at these beings as our religious guides, as gods, essentially. So there's many different interpretations of it, but I think that's the two that I see the most, either just to basically lie to the people of the world and unite us against this threat, or to unite us under the rule of this fake religion. And this is all supposed to be based on sophisticated hologram technology. And a lot of people have gone down that rabbit hole because there are countries, I think China is really leading the way in this development, but there are sophisticated hologram technologies that they can project into the sky. You guys have probably seen them over, I think, Shanghai. There's been a couple cities that have done these big events where they have like a bunch of drones work in coordination together, and they form like a big dragon in the sky, and it's pretty cool looking, and it goes all over the sky and does crazy maneuvers. It's pretty fascinating. So this, I guess you could say theory, or if you really want to go out there and say conspiracy theory, started to pick up traction again during the COVID times, I guess, because there's a lot of people who speculated something like this event would be predicated by a global disease, a global, destabilization that would then lead to scaring the population and kind of priming us for this. And that's, again, into the argument of what people say is that these events that were happening right now, such as the David Grush story and the Congress hearings on UAP, and all these things you're seeing in the news. I mean, we just saw the Peru alien, we saw the Las Vegas alien, all these stories. People are constantly commenting on my page and saying, this is Project Bluebeam, this is them gearing it up. And as I mentioned, I believe that Project Bluebeam is one of, if not maybe the least likely scenario. Now, the reason why I think that, there's a few reasons. Some stem from my religious beliefs, and some stem from my just disbelief that the world governments could pull off something of this level of sophistication without the people of the world being hip to it and not falling for it, I guess you could say. And two, think about it this way. If Project Bluebeam were to be real, and they're priming us for this event that is coming one day, one significant day down the road, whether it's soon or whether it's years down the road, where they do this invasion type of thing. They project all these holograms in the sky that are so convincing looking. I mean, I do believe the technology probably exists for them to do sophisticated hologram technology to the point that it could dupe us. I do believe that. We don't even know, we only know what the public sees. We don't know from the military perspective, from private aerospace, what they actually have hidden away in their damn bunkers. So it's possible. But what to me is the biggest red flag of this, and why, I see everybody talking about this and I wanted to address it, is that for it to be true, it would mean that every single sighting of crashed spacecraft, everything from Roswell to all these different events, to abductions, to sightings of beings, and sightings of craft landing and taking off and having actual physical impacts on the ground. I mean, just off the top of my head, I can think of one that I believe was in New Mexico with a police officer, and this was decades and decades ago, and he saw supposedly this craft on the ground, saw beings get out, saw them take off in the craft, and they even brought, I think, the newspaper or some sort of press, and they took photos of the imprints of the craft on the ground. So my point being, all of those events, every single one of them, Roswell included, would all have to be fake in order for this to be real, right? Because if there was real craft, physical craft that you could see with your eye, you could touch with your hand, beings that people have seen, if even one abduction story is true, from Betty and Barney Hill to the thousands of others, if even one is true, then how could that possibly coexist with Project Bluebeam? I don't see that. I'm open to being wrong, and that's why I say I do have to keep it as a possibility. It is possible, and I do believe the government even could possess the type of technology. I just don't think, one, they could pull off something of that sophistication where the entire world could get some mass event simultaneously. Two, how could you be projecting these holograms and nobody could find where the machines are? Like what's actually physically projecting it? Is it below this object? Let's say these objects are 5,000 feet in the sky. Where are these holograms being projected from? It would have to be like secret locations, right? So how could you pull that off at mass scale? And two, how on earth could every single sighting. I mean, just myself, I've never really gotten into the sightings that I've had in my life. I've just had two, but I mean, just two can be pretty profound if you look at it in, the fact that many people never see anything their entire life. I've had two. One incident in my life, I was at a lake camping with my buddy, and we were just sitting out there on the dock where there's pretty much no light pollution, and we saw what appeared to be this glowing, bright, I guess you could say silvery white object. It was very far off, just making all crazy kind of maneuvers across the sky, zipping and zapping all over the damn place, and very erratic movement, I guess you could say. And we thought that was pretty fucking astonishing. But the one that really hits home with me and that I still think about to this day was when I was about, I want to say 16 or 17 years old. I was here in my hometown, and I was riding my bike to my buddy's house, and it was a summer night, and there was nobody else around. It was it was dark, so I don't know the exact month, but it was around summertime, and it was about pitch black dark out. There was no other cars around, quiet suburban street. I'm riding my bike along there, no people around, and this giant orange orb literally just seems to appear out of nowhere, not far off, like the sighting that I just described to you guys. This was close up. It's hard to estimate distance in the sky, but like it was clear and it was close, and it wasn't that high in the sky. It was like way lower than a plane level. And I remember it being very bright orange, extremely bright, had no tail like a comet. It was sitting still, and it just, as soon as I looked up, I saw it. I was immediately just jaw-dropped, shocked, and then it zipped off so fast I couldn't even process mentally what I had just seen. For a moment there, I was like, did I even just see what I saw? Because, I mean, it literally went from there to not there in a matter of a fraction of a second. I did not even see any sort of tail or stream like a comet or a meteor, or whatever you want to say it potentially could be. It didn't go down. I believe it went up. And not straight up, but kind of off to an angle, and just zipped away so fast. Like I said, bright orange, big circular object. And that was that. I maybe saw it for 2 seconds, 3 seconds, but it was so big and bright, and just here 1 second, gone the next. So fast that I even questioned, did I just see that? And I was the only one around. So my point, to go off on a tangent with that story, is that if any sighting has happened, even one sighting and the millions of sightings that have happened were real, what are you insinuating then? Project Bluebeam set up that sighting for a couple people to see so that one day they could prime us all for a mass event? I mean, we're like way off into conspiracy la land with that theory, I think. I mean, how is that possible? That, what are they doing? Mini versions of this event all over the globe to prime us? I can understand the argument, and I don't want to be closed-minded. I don't, because I do not know the truth of this entire phenomenon. I just know, as I always say, the phenomenon is real. What that phenomenon is, that is really where my curiosity lies. I don't have a dog in the fight as to what it is. There's a lot of potential possibilities, Project Bluebeam being one. Could these be demons? There's a certain sect in the government that does believe these are actually demons who have been, I guess, controlling the world in some sort of facet, kind of hidden behind the curtains, and have kind of guided human civilization in their nefarious plots since the beginning of time. I actually think that's kind of plausible. I think that maybe these aren't the demons from the Bible that you picture, like with horns that are red, kind of like the creature in the Insidious movies. Maybe that's not what demons are like. Maybe they are these entities that are like super advanced species, and I see that as a possibility too. I admit that I come from a spiritual background as a Christian, so, maybe that could taint my ability to look at it rationally, but I believe that is definitely a plausible option. I think that they very well could be demons, and just not how we pictured demons, And it's interesting to think about, because how often in life do things unfold, events and interactions and situations unfold, and they're not the way you anticipated, and they're not the way you fathomed or imagined that they would be. So in my mind, it's not that far of a stretch by the imagination that there's this secret group of entities beings that are demonic in nature that have been guiding civilization, kind of as the Bible has always said. He says, the Bible says that Satan rules this world, and maybe that is what he's describing. It sounds crazy, but I mean, this is a crazy phenomenon, and so far we have no great answers as to what it could be. So, demons, Project Bluebeam, could these just be advanced humans from another timeline? Maybe they mastered the time travel in the future, and they've come back to kind of witness what's unfolding with humanity right now, or to prevent some sort of nuclear war. Possible. Could these be outer space aliens from another galaxy, another solar system, another planet? That's definitely possible as well. Clearly, these craft have a very sophisticated level of technology and capability. So that is not out of the question whatsoever. And then I think you could also say maybe these are interdimensional, and that they've been here the whole time and they're just simply in another dimension. I love the explanation. I don't know the accuracy of it. I know nothing about physics, but I've heard the explanation. You guys probably have too, that like from 3D cast a shadow on a sidewalk with the sunlight into 2D. So you can see 3D being projected onto the second dimension on a sidewalk with a shadow. I think is a very rough example, but I guess that same principle could in a way relate to like the fourth or fifth dimension being projected into the third dimension, and we are just seeing a projection of these entities, these beings, these craft being reflected into our dimension, and that's why it seems they can sometimes kind of go in and out of it. Sometimes you see a craft there, then it disappears, then it comes back, kind of flickers back and forth. We've seen things like this in countless videos, and we've heard testimony of it. So that's possible. And then lastly, you could also say that these beings, whatever they are, have maybe just been inside, maybe been living on this planet Earth forever, since the beginning of time. That's why we've seen the cave drawings and all the ancient etchings on walls and things and paintings of these craft, of these beings. There's some very legitimate ones you can find out there that are very jaw-dropping to think like, how could somebody from thousands and thousands of years ago, before planes, helicopters, cars, all that, be able to draw a craft with a being inside? There's some very credible ones out there that make you really question and just make you think, what's the truth of this? But maybe these beings have been here the whole time, and they've been living beneath the ocean in some sort of like Atlantis type deal. I don't know. Maybe they're down there beneath the Earth's crust, and they've mastered the technology to be able to live in such a environment that we normal humans could not. I don't know. I didn't say anything. I just said under a position of authority. So for anyone who wants to argue with me, I'm open to all possibilities, man. Truly I am. I just think Project Bluebeam is one of the least likely ones. I do believe that, and I wanted to address it because so many people out there on the internet seem to be obsessed with it. I see nothing that leads me to believe Project Bluebeam is one of the more probable outcomes of this reality. Could be wrong, but the government being able to pull something off, not only the government, you'd have to have all the governments in the world in cahoots on this, and that would be discrediting all the actual sightings and interactions and abductions and things that have happened over the years. They would all have to be fake for this to be real. And lastly, what on earth, if Project Bluebeam is real? And I do believe that the theoretical framework for the purpose of Project Bluebeam does make sense. Totally, they would want to eradicate the world religions, unite us into, kind of a one world government. I mean, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense to me, and that is the one reason why I kind of cling on to Project Bluebeam as a possibility. Is like, I'm like, the outcome makes sense. They either want us to worship some sort of fake god or fake higher entity, higher species of being, and we begin to just trust the government, listen to what the government says in the hopes that they're going to protect us from this, or guide us into an evolution of our species, and we need the government's ability to do that. There's a lot of ways to look at it. I do think it's possible, but you guys can give me your thoughts on this. I'm open to hearing the counterpoints, and clearly a lot of you out there do believe this. A lot of you guys do believe that Project Bluebeam is credible, and it's one of, if not the most probable realities of this phenomenon. I just personally, I don't see it, and unless something changes and we get maybe to witness one of these holograms for what it is, maybe like a certain video surfaces that shows us the hologram technology actually projecting the craft and seeing how they're operated. Something would have to give for me to believe that. I think that the incidents like the Nimitz incidents off the coast of California there in 2004, I think that incidents like that prove that these are actual physical things. They're physical objects. They're not holograms. They're not projections. And even if that one incident is real, the Nimitz incident with David Fravor, if that one incident is real, they said this was a physical craft, and the reason why they knew that is the way that the radar picked it up and the way that they captured it on their cameras. I think there was a couple reasons why. I'm not privy to all the military jargon that they used, but suffice it to say, we've heard that these guys believe with 100% certainty that that was a physical object, nothing that was just a sort of mirage. So, just that case alone being true then disproves the fact that Project Bluebeam is real. I think another reason people believe this possibility is that it does seem like we're being primed for something. It does seem that way. I'll give it to you guys. It does seem like we're being primed. And even the fake stories, like I can't say for 100% certainty fake, but feels fake in the Peru thing. I think the Las Vegas alien story that we heard about like a month or two ago, I can almost say with 100% certainty that one's 100% bullshit. Perhaps I'm wrong, but I think it's bullshit. And then, obviously the David Grush story with the UAP hearing in Congress, and now that was followed up by Chuck Schumer's legislation bill that passed. So there's a lot of stuff going on in the world of UFOs right now, and a lot of people do believe that this is due to the government wanting to prime us for something. Some people believe that's for Project Bluebeam. Some people believe it's for a managed disclosure, and they're about to tell us about this. Some people believe it's because these ETs, this non-human intelligence, is pressuring the governments of the world and have given them a timeline to reveal themselves. They allow the disclosure to come from the humans, to come from our leaders, maybe so that we'll take the news better, and that timeline is quickly getting to the deadline. And so that's why they're priming us with this. A lot of different theories as to why it's happening. And Project Bluebeam is just another one of those theories. So you guys can share your thoughts with me. I just really wanted to make a quick video to give my thoughts on it. At the end of the day, we just don't know. I'm in no position of authority, but it is a fascinating theory, and I do think there is some substance to it. I don't think it's bullshit. I just think that, as I mentioned several times now, that it's just not on the top list of possibilities. I think it's near the bottom, possibly even the least likely possible outcome. So that's just my thoughts. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. What we're going to be doing later on in the week, I think, is covering some of this World War III geopolitical news, because there's a lot of fascinating stuff going on with North Korea and China, and of course the Russia-Ukraine war is barreling down as usual. So a lot to discuss in that realm, but we'll save that topic for another day. If you guys enjoyed this type of content, you guys love hearing about UFOs, you love hearing about UFC news, you love hearing about geopolitical World War III stuff, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel. That means a lot to me. I'm enjoying doing this stuff every day, and it would mean a lot if you guys subscribed. For all those people who check out my stuff every day, it is much appreciated. If you're listening to the audio-only formats, just click follow and leave a 5-star review. And lastly, if you guys would like to be a part of the conversation, we got a small but growing group on Discord at Mixed Martial Arts. You can find the link in the description to this video. And from all over the place, and we just talk about these breaking stories as they happen, kind of share our experiences, our opinions on these topics, and ask questions, and just kind of have a good time. And I'm going to be growing that into doing things like watching the UFC fights together, having guests on where we do private group chats and things like that. So I'm having fun with it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll be back with another episode tomorrow, and let me know your thoughts. Is Project Bluebeam real? Is it fake? Let me know. Take care, guys.